Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, whenever you're taking hold of this video. Just a reminder, this is a pre-recorded video, so please be aware of any conditions, underlying conditions you have at the moment. Do not do any exercises beyond your capability, so always look for your optimal posture. Also, if you have any signs of COVID, please consult your GP or health professional beforehand, and that goes for same with any injuries. Work within the space that you normally do and feel comfortable with, and also be mindful of any obstacles that may cause you injury. I'm just looking around as we do this. So we're going to do some work on our backs this week, and I'm going to take you through some release work first. You don't forget that you can pause this video at any time. So I'm going to use a book for strength, okay, when we come down into shoulder bridge. We're going to, I'm just going to move that just in case it's doing, and I've got a TheraBand as well. So I've got a book and a TheraBand, so you can go off and get those and pause the video while you do so. In the interim period, we're going to do some release work. We've been here before, so I'm sitting on the floor, and I'm going to show you on my left ankle first. We're going to take the ball and rub it into the upper arch. So from the big toe, down through the arch and in towards the heel. So this is really good for the hips. It gets us moving through the hips as well. We're just easing into that arch, just checking out for any signs of tightness or just any soft or sore points. Moving across the ball of the foot, giving it a good check, really. I've got my harder ball here, so I'm going in quite heavily. And then I'm going to take it up the ankle, so between and the heel, I'm going to roll it up and down into that area. Ooh. Okay, so I didn't know that was a bit sore, but if you've had reflexology, this is to do with the hip area. And actually, thinking about it, when we were doing our class this week on mobility, one side was quite tighter than the other. Okay, taking that ball, I've got my ankle here, and I'm going across the diagonal, so I'm going below the ankle, and I'm rolling across that diagonal. And then changing sides. So this is a speeded up version, so if at any time you want to stop the video and spend a little bit more time here, then please do so. That's the advantage of a pre-recorded video. So rolling in through the arch, up into the big toe. And again, I've opened up my leg on this side. I was more curled in here on the other side. So just find a position that's comfortable for you. Rolling into that arch and at the top of the arch here as well. So just off that, that connective tissue, that structure that creates the arch of the foot. And then, so I can see you better there, that's it, up and down, not so bad on this side. And again, it might feel different for you. Up and down, between the heel and the ankle bone. Not too far up the calf, just up and down, and then in front, rolling in front of the ankle bone, between the arch and the ankle bone. So diagonally across to the top, into the top of the ankle here. Okay, we're going to work into our posterior line, so we're going to take that ball and we're going to come into the calves, but we're going to come into the outer edge, okay? So again, we were here a few weeks ago, I think. We've tilted, as you can see, I've tilted my foot out, so I've rotated the hip at the top, and I'm coming up and down. I'm just lifting my bum off the floor slightly, coming into that muscle that runs from down towards the ankle up towards the knee. If you're kicking out when you walk, this can become quite tight. Okay, into the center, just quickly up and down. You've been here before, so again, you can stop that video and work completely through your calves from the base here right up to the knee here. Okay, so swap sides. So I'm going to swivel around, swapping sides. Coming into the outer edge, you can see I've rotated my hip out and I'm coming down towards the ankle bone, but into that little muscle or big muscle. It runs all the way down that side, up and down, lifting my bum off the floor just to get that little bit more pressure. It should ease off. It should feel like it's getting easier. If it's not, as with any release work, you move away from it if it hasn't released after about 20 seconds, 30 seconds or so. So if it's still pretty intense, then you ease off. We're going to take the ball and bring it into our inside of our knee. Okay, so here on that inside, you can take both hands. Oh, that's a bit tight. Rolling it up and down. If you've got a roller, you can get onto your roller and do this into that muscle as well. It's where we rotate the leg inwards. Okay, let's swap sides. So anytime you want to stop the video and spend a little bit more time on these release movements, please do. Into the glutes. We were here last week, but always good to do. This is creating a bit more pressure, so it's a little bit stronger than it was last week. Rolling around, just checking how that feels. If you've found a spot, you can add your knee drop in and out. Couple here. Warming up those wrists as we have our bum off the floor and we're loading into those arm muscles. Let's change sides. Onto your glute. I'll swivel around so you can see where I am. Just stay off the bony structure of your bum. Roll around so you're coming down towards the sit bone down at the bottom. A little bit into the sacrum, but not on the sacrum. Up towards the top of the pelvis, yeah, nothing there. Out towards the side of the pelvis. Oh, a little bit there, okay. So find that spot and then add your knee drop. Just engaging into those abs a little bit, just bringing awareness to the body. Okay, so coming into our high kneeling position, we're going to stick that ball in the back of the knee. Okay, and this won't be for everybody, but you're going to come down. Some people will be able to get right down onto their, excuse me, onto their bum. But for me, I'm going to stay high. And then we're just going to rock from side to side. So I do suffer from quite tight calves. Not sure why. I'm sure I could be informed. Okay, just taking it from side to side. You might find, as I'm finding here, you can end up going a little bit lower. But if you're high here, that's perfectly okay. We're just coming into that back of the knee. Okay, we're dropping down into the belly of the calf now. Ooh, such pleasure. And going from side to side. But this is part of our posterior line, and it's really important to get mobility through here, or keep mobility. And if we've got areas of tightness, then those muscles just don't slide the way we would like them to. Let's swap sides. So into the top. Okay, you're not going to be able to go down quite as much. Not quite so bad on that side, just swinging from side to side. And then into the belly of the calf, so just tracking it. Once again, you can spend more time here if you've found an area that you want to work on a little bit more. So taking that ball off to one side, we're going to come over onto our bum, and we're just going to start here with our, so rolling down onto our sides, onto our backs. And we are going to start with our pelvic tilt. So this is a really good mobility move for that lower back. We're starting without the book, so have the book near us and the band. With our feet a hip distance apart, so toes together, kick the toes out, kick the heels out, and mobilise through that pelvis, squashing that blackberry and releasing it off. If you're not sure, just place your fingertips on your, or thumbs on your rib cage, fingertips on your pelvis, and rock forwards and backwards. So we're going to take hold of the book and we're going to extend that move a little bit more. So by elevating the bum, we can bring flexion, not entirely flexion, but lengthening out through that lower back. So we're going to put the book underneath our bum. I've got a zip there, so I've gone right into the zip. And we're going to tilt that little bit further. So this just elevated bum helps that lower back move just that little bit more. 3 and 2 and 1, and hold it there for a moment, squeezing into it, so lifting the pubic bone up, just gently nudging that back deeper into the mat. Good, and release off there, take that book off to the side. Let's have a little look. So we're coming into our hip flexor stretch. We're going to draw that knee in towards the chest, lengthen the leg all the way down towards the floor. If you want to keep the book underneath your bum here, you can keep that extensional movement. So by having the book here, if you're already fairly flexible for the hip, through the hip flexors, by adding that elevation, you can push down and increase the stretch through that lengthened leg. Drawing the opposite leg down and back in. So I'm tilting that pelvis back, but by tilting that pelvis back, I'm also pushing down through my lengthened knee, drawing the knee towards the chest, being active through that right leg. Drawing back to center, you can repeat that on a couple of times if you wish to. So we're going to draw the right knee back in. We're going to hold onto the back of the leg, and we're going to come into our neural glide. So I'm starting with my pointed foot, but now I'm going to alternate point and so flex, go down, point, and flex, and point, and flex. So alternating between the two. The important thing with this is that your thigh stays as close to your chest as you can take it. So we're not moving that thigh. Good. And we're going to repeat on that opposite side, lengthening that right leg down, point and flex. Knee to chest, thigh to chest. Couple more here. And lower back down. Okay, we're going to take that right leg out towards the end of the mat. I'm just going to move up so you can see my right leg. And we're going to rotate the leg outwards. I've got my neutral spine, I've got space for my blueberry. And we're going to start with a lift and lower here. So by lifting and lowering that lengthened leg, my left knee is stable. I've got my big toe, little toe and heel of the left foot completely earthed into the mat. My collarbones are open. And if I'm finding that I'm driving too deep into that lower part of the leg, I'm going to soften my knee. I've just taken the lock off my knee. What I want to feel is work starting to come up into the groin area. So if I've really driven down through my toes, my whole leg is completely rigid. So all the muscles are firing really strongly to help me lift and lower my lengthened leg. If I soften the knee slightly, then the work starts coming up into my groin area, into the hip flexor. relaxes a little bit more. Okay, so my left buttock is earthed into the mat. I haven't tilted my pelvis stays nice and stable. It's starting to tire now, I can feel that starting to kick in, but carry on if you wish to. Okay, let's change and go over to the opposite side, rotating the hip outwards so my toe and my foot have followed the line of my leg. I've leveled off my pelvis and I'm going to start my lift and lowers. Again, I can feel the work going down further at the bottom of the leg, so I'm going to soften my knee and draw the work right up into the groin. My right knee is vertical, my right buttock is earthed into the mat. I've got my neutral spine. My collarbones are open, my shoulders and jaw are relaxed, my neck is nice and long. Keeping that movement going until you feel that low, dull ache. For 3, or carry on as you wish. 2, and 1. Drawing that leg back to our neutral. You might want to come into a double knee hug here just to release off. One foot comes down, second foot comes down. Okay, taking hold of your book. We're going to hold on to the book and we're going to have it onto our chest. So we're going to come into our pelvic tilts. Good. And then we're going to squeeze into the buttocks with the book on our chest, creating that little bit more resistance. And we're going to start with our little pulses. So little pulses, squeezing into those buttocks, just checking if they're firing nicely. If you're not sure, then use your activator and points on the back of your head. I'm not going to show you where those are. I've taught you already. I know we've got some new members as well, and I don't want them to do the wrong areas. Okay, so we're just adding those little pulses, again, just firing into our buttocks. They're both working equally, or we would hope they were. The quads are working as well. 5, 4, 3, 2, squeeze as you push, squeeze, and release off there. Good, double knee hug. One leg down, second leg down. Okay, lifting the book up towards the ceiling now. And we're going to reach and release. Reach and release. We've got a closed chain here, but we're settling into and isolating into the upper back now. The elbows stay lengthened. So we want to feel the shoulder blades gliding forwards as we take the book up towards the ceiling here, and then settling back down onto the floor as we release off, so gliding in towards the spine. See if you can make the shoulder blades hit the floor at equal times, so simultaneously. We also want to create length in our neck, so keeping, when you lower those shoulders to the floor, just see if you can draw the shoulder blades down towards your back pocket. So you're not drawing them and they're coming up to your ears here, you're drawing them and they're coming down. So really isolating into this movement. I'm going to make sure I'm not going to hit the obstacle behind me. Okay, so we're now going to settle those shoulder blades onto the floor. We're going to extend that right leg and we're going to create our lift and lower. But this time we're going to go a little bit higher. And we've also got that hip rotated outwards. So hip rotated outwards, look up towards the ceiling. Left knee vertical. Think about your optimal posture. And when we lift that next time, we're going to float the arms only to 45 degrees. Having a heavy book is going to create tension in that movement. You should start feeling this work into the abdominals as you exhale. Inhale, lower and return. Exhale. Inhale, lower and return. Exhale. Inhale, lower and return. Exhale. Soften that knee if you're finding the work is staying out of the groin area. Last couple. Last one. And release off there. Draw that leg back in, give it into the chest, or take it into the chest. You want to release it off. Okay, extending that left leg now. We're going to hold that book to start off with, and we're going to rotate that hip outwards and lift and lower. Settle the posture. The right buttock is firmly earthed into the mat. The right knee, right foot is all in line with the right hip. We've settled those shoulders. We're not reaching up, we're settling. Holding onto the book, creating that work through the abdominals at the front. Our spine is in neutral. And hold it there as we float. Exhale, inhale, return. Exhale, and return. Exhale, and return. Exhale, and return. Last two. As we exhale, we're lifting that pelvic floor. We're becoming more and more active through the abdominals. Conversely, simultaneously, these will activate your primary sling as well. Good. Last one. And release off there. Hip flexor might be aching there. Okay, draw in. Let's have a little look. So, we're going to come into the SI joint a little bit here, and we're going to take that right knee into tabletop and lengthen the left leg down towards the end of the mat. We're going to extend, that right leg up towards the ceiling now, hamstrings as well, okay? So extend it full length. This is where you might need your TheraBand to put your here, or you can loop it over the top and have it here. Okay, so we're going to move it forwards and backwards. And holding onto your TheraBand. If you haven't got your TheraBand, it's a lot stronger move, okay? But we're going to lower it all the way down and lift back up. Lower and lift. Locking in the wrist, so we've got some activity on that wrist, and locking into my right upper arm. So I've got a nice right angle here. I'm working these arm muscles, but I'm also working through my right leg here, mobilizing through that movement and just being focused on when I take my leg to the upright position, what my pelvis is doing. A couple more here. And then I'm going to take that leg out to the side. And then back in. So last week we were working into those adductors, those inner thigh muscles. So you might find that a week makes quite a big difference, one side to the other. And then you can take it all across. So medial rotation, right across into the glute and back over. So big tick-tock here. Keeping that pelvis nice and level, the left buttock is staying earthed into the mat. We're working hard into this arm as well. Neck nice and long. And release off there. Last one. Good. Okay, changing sides. So taking that band or your tights, if you haven't got a band at home, a pair of tights works well. And lengthening that bottom leg and taking the leg up towards the ceiling and lowering down. Again, locking into that left leg, left arm. So note the difference between the two sides and the mobility on the two sides as well. We're trying to always try to balance out in Pilates. We become very conscious of our anomalies in our posture. Right side nice and stable, shoulders active on the left-hand side, collarbones open towards the ceiling. Let's take it up and out to the side. I won't get as far on this one because my wall is in the way. Again, be conscious of your environment where you're working. So take it in and out. Keeping that pelvis nice and stable if you can. Couple here, and then take it right across the midline of the body and back out again. So really mobilizing through that hip. Especially if you've been sitting, working at computers, this is a lovely mobilization through that hip as well. Good. Drawing back to center. Again, you can carry on these movements if you wish to. So we're going to get those legs nice and long, and we're going to draw the right leg down towards the mat. You might be able to see what happens. So I long through the posture, and I'm going to draw my right hip with my right foot down towards the mat. And then I'm going to let it spring back again. And then I'm going to do the same. You might see that a little bit better on this side. The same with the left. So I'm alternating from one side to the other. So I'm moving through the pelvis. SI joints they don't have much mobility, but if we can get the little bit of mobility into them as much as we can, then we get a lovely release as well. So if you're not sure, place your hands on your hips and just move from side to side here. Just releasing through. While you're doing that, I'm going to have a little nosy. Okay, we're going to roll up, hands come onto our bums. And then we're going to lengthen through our bums, and then we're going to walk forwards, okay? So again, this is mobility through the hips. My mat is crunching up, but as I come back, it's not. So bum walk, forwards and backwards, nice and upright through the head, and walk forwards, crunching that mat up as you go. Okay. Trying to keep, I'm noticing I'm moving my body quite a lot here. If you can, stabilize the body a little bit more and work through your bum. You can do those as many times as you wish. Okay, so after this, we're going to come over onto our backs. We're going to come into our prone and our one leg kick. So again, we're working on that posterior sling. Just going to check the time. And you can use your towel or your book, but your head is nice and long. So key elements with the posterior movement. Pelvis tilted backwards, tuck that tailbone under, lengthen through your lower back. You can add a towel underneath your lower or your belly button here if you have any discomfort by lying on your front. Otherwise, use your abdominals to really set yourself into a good posture. Hands are in our capital E position or stop sign. Legs are hip distance apart, and our toes are going to touch. So our toes are touching and the heels are kicked out. We're going to start with activating these glutes. So I'm going to squeeze both buttocks and imagine I'm zipping down towards my inner thighs, in towards my back of my knees, and drawing those calves together, and finally the heels. So imagine you're zipping up those inner leg muscles. Really squeeze those inner thighs together, the adductors, getting active through our lateral sling. Okay, let's open up through the heels first. They draw out, drop, and slowly unzip from the heels all the way, and finally release your buttocks off. Release those muscles, and then tense. Drawing down through your inner thighs, relaxing those shoulders, trying to isolate through the movement into the legs, and slowly unzip. So just be bossy with the posture here. Tilting that pelvis backwards, activating through your abdominals, squeezing into the buttocks, zipping all the way down. Down towards the heels, releasing the jaw, neck and shoulders, neck's nice and long. And unzip. Good. So we're just bringing those feet back to hip distance apart, And we're going to start off with our one leg kick. Right leg moves up and down, flexing the foot and pointing the foot. Okay, change side. So left leg, point, lift and lower, flex, lift and lower, point, lift and lower, and change. Point, lift and lower, flex, lift and lower, point, lift and lower, and change. Point, lift and lower, flex, lift and lower, point, lift and lower, and change. So carry on in your own time. Again, this is one exercise that is really good for working into the hamstrings. You can speed it up if you get that movement pattern. Sorry, just on there. If you get that movement pattern, you can speed it up. So your hamstrings are fast twitch muscles, so they work well at being moved quickly, but we often don't. So they can feel like they're not at the back of the knee. They can feel quite tight. You might feel a little bit like they don't want to move very quickly, and that's absolutely fine. Just practice moving with this series. If you've done this before and you feel comfortable, then when you change you can go into one leg kick level 2. So you're going to show you on my left hand side. So your right leg comes up, lowers back down, and returns with your flex foot. And then on that final one, you lift the thigh and lower back down. So you continue that lower. So it's a point, flex, point. As you come back down, you lift the thigh and return down to the floor. And then you repeat that on the opposite side. So you're just coming more into your thighs as you lower back down. Okay, carrying on with those movements, pause there if you want to, and do some more. We're going to carry on with those extra movements. So both legs are going to bend, and we are going to start with our little tantrum kicks here. So just warming, continuing to warm those hamstrings up. Okay, stronger through the abdominals to stabilize that upper body, and we're going to get faster. Okay, so you're really trying to get as fast as you can, warming up those hamstrings. Now, just be aware that if you have any hamstring issues, this can cause, this can come into your amber, so it could be an injury issue. So just be focused on what feels right for you. If you don't want to add those really fast flickers, stay small. Okay, so start really at the lower end and then build it up. So only work within your capabilities. Okay, for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Well done. Okay, so we're going to come into our breaststroke prep. Okay, so we're going to hover. Again, this is a mixed group, so I'm going to keep the head on the floor to start off with, but if you feel comfortable, you can hover the head off. And we're going to take our hands to our head, and with the head either hovered or not, we're going to draw those arms around. I'm going to move down out of the way. So we're hovering or not. If you're hovering, make sure that pelvis is tilted back and you've got length in that lower back. So hovering off or keeping your head on the floor. You're going to circle those arms round, draw the arms down towards your breastbone or hands down towards your breastbone, and then repeat. So hands to head, circle round, watching any obstacles, draw back and repeat. Okay, if you are hovered, your head and nose faces down towards the floor. So we're working into those back extensors. Even if you've got your head on the floor, you are also working into those back extensors because your arms are hovering and working through this movement. Your tailbone is tucked under. You are active through the abdominals. You're breathing in to prepare and exhale, circle and return. Inhale. Exhale, circle and return. Inhale. Exhale, circle and return. Inhale. exhale, circle and return. Good, and release off there. Push back up and come into your shell stretch or your puppet, whichever works for your knees. Coming onto our forearms here now. So we're coming onto our forearms. Okay, and I'm going to move up a little bit so you can see. And we're going to extend that right leg and we're going to lift and lower. Now, the key with this one, as you can see from my back, it's trying to keep it as stable as possible. If I go too far, I bend my back down, okay? So I lose my center. If I go lower, I can keep that control. So it's finding your ultimate posture. Neck nice and long, drawing the shoulder blades in, active through the shoulder blades. For 3, 2, and 1, and change side. Just be conscious that your knees don't come in to stabilize you. Okay, so we really want to be knee underneath the hip, checking that that's in the right posture first before you add your lift and lower. So squeezing into those buttocks. Neck nice and long, drawing those shoulder blades down towards our back pockets. 3, 2, and 1. Drawing back in, let's change again. If you need to, just come into your shell stretch in the interim period. So extending that right leg, we're going to draw it out. We're going to draw the knee in and push away with a flex foot. So push and return, push and return, push and return. Two and 1 and return, and make sure your knee stays underneath your hip. Extend that left leg and draw in and push away, draw in and push away. Just note that my back's not changing posture. So my abdominals, my primary sling is working really hard. I'm working through the multifidus, those back muscles that integrate with the vertebrae. My abdominals are connected. Might not look it here, but they are. And drawing away. 2 and 1, neck nice and long. And then again, come back into your shell position or your puppy to release off there. You should be working through those buttocks now. So we're going to come back into our all fours, or if you want to change, you can come onto your, you can come back into your forearms, or if you want to change, you can come back into your, or come into your all fours. Going to extend that right leg back, and we're going to add some circles. So first in a clockwise direction. If you want to extend and challenge this movement further, you can float the opposite arm. I've lost my circle now. I'm trying to do both. So you can float, but just don't reach. Look at the difference between what happens to my body if I reach or if I've got that float. Change direction on your circle if you haven't already. You can keep both hands on the floor. You can come into cat paw. Harder still is your float. 3, 2, 1, drawing up through the chest. Change sides or have your release in that period. So take the opposite leg back, lift to the posture where you want to maintain that neutral pelvis. Okay, and circle. They might be squares, think circle. Neck nice and long, drawing the shoulder blades back. Okay, options with the opposite arm are cat paw or float. Working deeper into those abs, let's change directions. Right hip over the right knee, drawing through the breastbone. As you get tired, you might collapse into that shoulder, lift up. So really lifting up and adding that opposite circle. For 3, 2, and 1. And release off there. Come into your shell stretch. Good. We are coming into our all fours. So if you were doing that movement here, We're now coming into our all fours, and we're going to extend the right leg. Okay, we're going to take it out to the side and draw it back in. So take it out to the side and draw it back in. Now, I'm working really hard here to stabilize through my center. So it's working, I'm not taking it as far as I can, because if I took it as far as I can, look what happens to my posture. Okay, completely out of the window. So I'm taking it to a point where I can keep that upper body nice and stable, but I'm drawing out. Oh, quite hard work that. Drawing out and draw back in. Change sides, so have a rest again if you want to. I keep saying again on these videos. Need another word. From here, we're changing sides, abducting through that hip. You might find that you're just sweeping, okay? But see if you can hover. You don't want a massive, you can take it higher, a lot harder. So find your range of movement that works for you without compromising your posture, without compromising that posture. And also what we are, my t-shirt's moving, but I'm working really hard to keep the distance between my hip and my rib here. So if I took it too far round, I would shorten that distance. So what I'm trying to do, my hips and ribs here, I'm keeping that space the same and really isolating into the movement around the buttocks and around the legs. And release off there. Into your shell stretch, or if you want to, into your puppy. So coming higher, and if you've been stuck at a computer for a while, this puppy is lovely because it brings extension into the back where we maintain flexion a lot of the time. So really getting that mobility. So if you have gone into shell, then maybe come into puppy and really get that mobility through the upper back. Okay, drawing forwards here, we are going to come into our swimming. So we're going to take our back into prone, using your towel if you want to, and tilting that tailbone under. We're going to hover the right leg off the floor and the left arm, lower back down and hover the opposite side. Now, this is your starting point, keeping that spine in neutral. Bearing in mind we are a mixed class, you can extend or float that left arm. So watch my shoulder, I'm not reaching, I'm setting it into its posture, into its ultimate posture, and I'm going to float from here. So you can, this is a longer lever, it requires more option through or attention through the abdominals and greater focus into this lower back area. So when you're lifting that leg, it's really common for us to tilt that pelvis forwards as we lift. So we end up wibbling around like a fish on a that's just been landed. Use that for your imagination. Okay, but otherwise, if you can maintain that posture, then alternate from one side to the other. To take it further and higher, you can float your head. But if it's coming into, you start pinching into that lower back, you've lost your center. So if you start feeling any pinching through that lower back, then reduce that range of movement and go back to the step before. You can then alternate. So here, wrong arm, brain. So alternating, using your breath pattern. Shoulder blades are drawn down towards your back pockets. That is going into your intermediate advance. So you really have to bring focus into your pelvis. So we've been doing shorter versions here Alternate from one side to the other. Okay. But you can extend the lever. Extending the lever does make it harder. Okay, let's push back up. Come into our puppy. Draw the breastbone to the mat. Come up into our all fours. Going to add a little spinal rotation to finish off here. We're going to kick that right knee up towards the ceiling and then rotate over. So hands stay on the floor. Really keep some focus into that movement. Draw back. Shoulder blades down, neck is long, and take it back over again. So you're alternating between the two. We've done this lying on our tummies before now. Same movement, but not so extensive. Opening up the hip. Good. And then change sides. So one leg into donkey kick, and then open and close back down. And open. Shoulders, oh, got a nice little click through my hip there. Last one. And release off there, good. Rolling over, so just finishing off here, lovely back movement to finish is our hip twist 2. It works into the thoracolumbar fascia at the back of the mat. It feels like a really simple movement, but there's so much going on with this one. This is one of the lovely back exercises to be done anytime, really. Your head can go in the opposite direction. The key with this one is to keep those knees stacked one on top of the other. So the top foot follows. I've just checked that my top knee, it might not look at it on the camera angle, but my top knee is right on top of my lower knee. If I slide it back, it's having the same effect with my pelvis as well. So I want my pelvis to work in unison with this movement. From side to side, opposite head to opposite knee. You can hold it there and take those deep breaths in. And release. And change. And if you find one side is tighter than the other, this side's tighter for me, you can come back to center and go back again. And back. And over. You might find you wriggle down the mat on this one. Good. You can take it a little bit further if you wish to and make it more of an abdominal work, bringing your knees up into tabletop and doing the same from here. So this is working deeper into those obliques. We're still getting movement and mobility through the back, but this is coming into your intermediate, nudging into your advanced position. You really need your optimal posture. Okay, so it could cause you injury if you're not used to doing this one. We have a mixed group, work at your own level. Okay, so otherwise go into this movement. Oh, stack those knees. Bring the knees in towards your chest, hands on top, and come into your circles. And reverse. Good. Well done, everybody. So, as I mentioned, you can stop that video at any point and do those extra exercises. Great thing about pausing this. Have a lovely week. I'll see you the week after. Please take care with working in your own space and with your own capabilities. I've given you some more advanced options here, but as I say, this is a mixed group. So I've combined some exercises that are suitable for all of us and some that will be for the progressive groups. So work within your own comfort zone, challenge yourself, but we don't want any injuries. Okay, so look after yourselves as well. Thank you very much, and I'll see you the week after. Bye for now.